Hey, this is Malika of Evanston Live TV, and we have back with us another episode of Nabors Speaks. Reverend Dr. Michael Nabors. He always brings a new perspective, especially a spiritual perspective on what we're dealing with just in our regular lives. And now we got this pandemic on top of us, and so many changes, so many things happening in the world right now, but the world continues to move. So we got to make sure we stay moving with it, because when we come out of this, it's going to look very, very different. Very different. Wouldn't you agree, Pastor?
I absolutely agree. It's going to be very different, and there's not going to be a return to the way that things once were. We are going to be pioneers in forging a new destiny, not only for our nation, but for our people, for our families, and for our own community. So we need to check that and to realize that the way that we used to dream, we're going to have to dream differently. The aspirations that we once had, we won't stop having aspirations, but they're going to have to be different. Yeah, it's a different world.
They're going to be different. So
Yes.
I wanted to bring you on too, and I want people to also know, those who are new to watching Evanston Live TV, is that you're also president of the NAACP North Shore.
Yes.
So the topic that we're going to be talking on today, you bring a whole nother perspective on it as well, history and everything. So
Yes.
we're talking about reparations today, because Evanston is pioneering the reparations movement, and
Mhm.
that it actually looks possible. And like you were just saying at the beginning, that our visions, our dreams, how we approach things are going to be different. There was a time when reparations was about 40 acres and a mule, and we didn't get that. Then it just wasn't even something that looked like it could ever be real, that we would be repaid back for all the injustice and the pain that still goes on today. So now with Alderman Robin Rue Simmons um, not giving up and forging ahead, that her city, Evanston, she's going to pioneer this, and it's actually waking up so many other states in the country, like, this is a possibility. And then you had Alderman Ann Rainey bringing the creativity with, well, let's use the cannabis
Mhm.
tax money, which was very, very creative. I don't think anybody was thinking pull it from there. I mean, we just were able to make it legal. So,
Yeah.
it's been awesome to see how this is unfolding. So there's a big town hall tonight. So what's going to be tackled in the big town hall? I know a lot of people are still not believing that's going to happen. Then you have people who are being very active and participating and making sure their voice is heard on what they would love to see happening with this $10 million.
Mhm.
Um, so, I mean, and you're on the committee, so you all are dealing with a lot, right? That's a lot of pressure.
Not a pressure.
That's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. So let me start a little bit, and just, you brought up the historical piece. You brought up the first conversation that our ancestors ever heard regarding reparations was 40 acres and a mule. So we've read about that. We've heard that story from generation to generation. And of course, the old saying in the Black community has always been, "Where is my 40 acres and a mule?" Because that promise was never delivered. And then of course what happened then is we had to go about creating our own community out of our own ingenuity, out of our own brilliance, out of our own abilities that God gave us and that we were able to craft and manage ourselves. We did it through our own skills, through our own talent. During Reconstruction, we actually built towns and cities. And of course, that they were bombed, they were burned, they were destroyed, all of that because of the nascent reality of racism in our nation. So we have that ability. And then, of course, if you shift to the next 100 years, now this is one of the catch-22 situations. I grew up on James Brown. I think you grew up on James Brown as well. James Brown had one of the most magnificent songs. I was probably about 10 or 11 years old when he sang it. And one of the lines was, "I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Just open up the door and I'll get it myself," right? So we have that attitude. So the framework was for the 100 years, we weren't going to get reparations. And then along comes this gifted and incredible young sister who is an alderman for the city of Evanston in Robin Rue Simmons. And Robin gets into her mind that this is a place and a town just because of its very nature that will entertain the idea of listening to reparations. You gave the outline, she was persistent, and Rainey came in with the idea about cannabis sales, the taxes from cannabis sales, and so here we are. I want to give credit to Robin, I want to give credit to Ann, but I also need to give credit to those other folks who sat around that city council table, and even the mayor. If it had not been for them voting unanimously for this amazing resolution, which is 126 R19, you know, that should be in the hearts and minds of every Black person in Evanston and maybe in the United States. 126 R19 is a resolution establishing a City of Evanston funding source devoted to local reparations. So that's where we are right now. So you're talking about the town hall meeting tonight. It's going to be our second town hall meeting. You know, the first one was hosted by our dear friend, Pastor Monty Dillard at First Church of God, right in the 5th Ward. It was a great turnout. The spirit was high with Danny Glover as the keynote speaker. We had a wonderful panel discussion. And the next step now is the discussion that we're going to have tonight through virtual Zoom meeting. In that meeting tonight, we are going to discuss some of the specifics about steps that we're going to take. The city has already agreed that this is going to happen. There was an effort on the part of some people because of the coronavirus to take the money and to utilize it somewhere else, but that is not going to happen. The money that's been set aside for reparations is going to be used for reparations. And tonight we're going to hear from a lot of wonderful speakers, some of them near and some of them far, who are going to talk about what that means. So let me share with you, Malika, that the team that has been working on this has been pretty incredible. We've had stakeholders around the table for months and months. Alderman Simmons has been meeting with a group of folks every other Friday for about the past 4 or 5 months, and this is a group of citizens from the community. So all of that has been going on. There's been planning, there's been working, and it all has boiled down to 3 subcommittees, and the 3 subcommittees cover the area in the resolution that we talked about needing sourcing for Blacks in Evanston. Those sources, those areas are housing, number 1. Number 2, economic development. And the third one, which is I think just as important as any other, the third area is overall education. So we're going to be dealing with those 3 areas. And we believe that the way that the resolution was written and agreed upon, that housing seems to be the major issue right now, even under the threat of COVID-19. And so we are working to establish a process where the first monies, probably in October, can go toward assistance with housing for Blacks in Evanston. So you've got I think you've got over 40 people who are working on those committees. I mean, that's exciting. It really is. We've got people who are from Northwestern University. We've got people who are in the banking business, we've got people who are just regular entrepreneurs in the community. We've got regular citizens, you know, who have been a part of the Evanston community for 3 generations. You know, everybody is sitting around the table sharing their ideas. So tonight you're going to hear about them.
So what will the housing portion look like? Like, what's the vision for that?
So the vision for it, you know, again, it's not a final kind of process, because we have to take it to the community so that they can look at it. Everything that we do, we want the consensus of the community. You know for yourself, one of the real issues when it comes to money, and people think $10 million is a lot of money. It's really not over the span of over 10 years. But when it comes to money, there can always be differences of opinion. And one of the things that we are striving for is to have an atmosphere where we can agree to disagree. So with regard to the housing right now, we're not exactly sure how it's going to roll out, but if we are beginning to receive hundreds of thousands of dollars, that money is going to be utilized hopefully to help Black people purchase homes and remain in the Evanston community. As you know, gentrification is occurring right now.
Mhm.
A whole boatload of Black people are leaving the Evanston community, and we cannot allow that to happen.
I agree. I think as soon as I had moved back to Evanston, that was a major issue, was a mad exodus because, well, not just Black people, but a lot of people are having to move out of Evanston because they just simply can't afford it anymore. And it's so sad because, especially for the Black community, and that so many people um, were raised here, and some people have been here for generations. So to lose that property that's been in their family for so long because of all the, the property taxes just become way too expensive. Um, Now, I like to get the voices of people out there in the community, and one of the concerns that came up, and so I said, okay, Pastor Nabors can clear this up or explain it in terms of the housing. And I know you said nothing is etched in stone right now. It's still just conversation and making sure that everybody is heard.
Yes.
With the housing money, people are wondering if it'll come to a point where Black families have to be pre-qualified to get a piece of that reparations for the housing.
Yeah, a good question. And I'm only going to give you my opinion now, so I can't say that I'm speaking on behalf of the committee.
Okay.
If we are sharing dollars, reparations dollars um, for home ownership or for housing, right? For Blacks in the community, then what that means to me, I would think, obviously, you have to be pre-qualified. You have to be eligible to purchase a home. If we're going to be giving money to help you with the down payment, to help you with this or that, then there has to be some evidence that you're being pre-qualified, because we don't necessarily want to just give money out and have people do whatever they want to do with it. To send money to their cousin Pete, who lives in, Lansing, Michigan somewhere because of this or that. That's not what this is for. The reparations money is for helping Black people that are connected and living in Evanston to remain in Evanston and to create opportunities for them to have home ownership. So I think the pre-qualifying piece is really important. But keep in mind, Malika, we don't want to just say you got to be pre-qualified. We want to help our people to be pre-qualified.
Okay.
We want to help every single individual that wants to have a home, that wants to purchase a home. We want to do everything we can within our resources, financial management, working as a liaison with lending institutions and banking institutions to say, this, our family wants to buy a home in Evanston, and we are going to vouch for them, and we're going to make sure that they are eligible for a mortgage. Yeah.
Okay. Because definitely now, after this quarantine and people being laid off, they're losing their businesses. A lot of people's credit, when I think pre-qualify, I think credit, I think savings. What do you have in the bank that a mortgage company will say, okay, you have enough in the bank to close on this property. So with this quarantine and everything that's going on right now, so many people's credit is going to look very different because those utility companies, though some of them are giving people a break right now, but as soon as the administration switches the switch, like it's over what they consider, I think everything is fine now, everybody get back out there. Those utility companies aren't going to be as understanding. So they're going to be cutting things off. People are already behind. So they're going to be sent to collection. So by the time we get to 2021, people who had good standing and could buy a house or buy a condo for their children just starting out here in Evanston or something is going to look very different by 2021 for a lot of people. So I love that you're saying help them get pre-qualified, because already people were already discriminated against. A lot of the systemic racism has hurt a lot of people in that they couldn't buy property or couldn't hold on to property or couldn't keep their job or get a loan to start a business. They were already impacted by that, so many. So now you have this unexpected monster of the pandemic that came, and it's 10 times worse. So what does that look like to help the Black community get pre-qualified? And does that include Black people who don't live in the Fifth Ward as well? That's another conversation that's come up. Because I know there's a focus on the Fifth Ward, but some people lived in the Fifth Ward, they moved out of the Fifth Ward, or you have a lot of people that moved into Evanston who've done a lot of amazing things for the community, and they're Black though. They've been, they deserve their reparations too. So, and they've been here for years. May not have been born here, or their family may not have been here for generations, but they deserve it too. So what is that pre-qualifying going to look like? I know that's a big question.
It is a big question, Malika, but I think that you were brilliant in your analysis of it, and all of the extenuating circumstances due to COVID-19, due to the instability of our local economy, but also our national economy. I want to share that you prefaced this conversation today saying that the future is going to look very, very different from what we've experienced in the past and right now. And I would say that that is absolutely going to be the case with potential mortgages and home ownership. One thing that I'm convinced of is that banks don't want to go out of business. And financial institutions don't want to go out of business, and they are not in the business of owning homes. Their benefit is being able to get mortgages out so that they can continue to have the revenue coming in, as opposed to having all of these homes and being responsible for that. So we will be engaged in significant dialogue. We will be engaged, it seems to me, in significant conversation with these presidents and vice presidents of banks, especially the loan officers, especially the mortgage officers, and to say, in this extenuating circumstance, these are criteria that you're going to have to look at that you haven't looked at in the past. Now, I want you to know this, though, which is very important. Even if COVID-19 had not happened, we still did not want to necessarily take reparations and just give it to people who had good credit, who had great credit. We want to give reparations to the people who are also in great need. And that includes, folks in the Black community who, because of extenuating circumstances, because of difficulties in terms of employment and, higher education and all of that, maybe they don't have good credit. Maybe there is an issue. That doesn't make them a bad human being. And one of the things that I think the United States of America is going to have to get busy with, I'm looking at all of these, bad credit commercials that are coming on television now, between this and that. And I'm saying to myself, my God, who in the hell are they talking to? Everybody's going to be struggling with this, before this thing is all over. And so it seems to me a new paradigm is going to have to be created for how we look at credit, for how we look at people who want to better themselves, who want to buy a house, who want to buy a car and all of that. But because of this situation, there is a major setback. Because I will tell you this, the remedy for what we are experiencing right now is not going to be given to us 12 months from now. The solution for what we are now experiencing as a nation, right? And then as a community called Evanston, and then third, as a minority community, the Black community, is not going to be given to us in 12 months or 24 months. We're still suffering from the setback of 2008 when the economy fell. That was 12 years ago. Now, added on to that is the COVID-19. So there's a double burden that people of color and minorities are experiencing that is really, really significant. And as a result of that, if we don't create a new paradigm, a new way of looking at how we can help the left out, the least and the lowest, and those who are struggling, not bad people, not evil people, not people who are careless, but good people. people that go to church every Sunday, you know, well, maybe people that don't go to church, but are good, you know, good people. We have to figure out what are we going to do to help them to elevate their game so that our community, our state, and our nation can continue to be the excellent nation that it always has been. We cannot have a permanent underclass of poor people in this nation who constitute 75% of the population. I ain't for that. And the reason why I'm not for that is because guess what? You and I would be in that category. If we only have 25% of the people in this nation that are going to not live in poverty, you can bet your bottom dollar that the demographics are going to be the same. They are probably going to be white. They're probably going to be wealthy, $1 million or more, and everybody else is going to be in the same category. No, we're not having that. COVID-19 is not going to put us in that category. And if we have to rise up as a people and say it's not going to happen, as a starting point with the reparations movement in Evanston, then let it be done.
Mm, mm, mm. I like that. You know, I'm dreaming of the day when, you know, of course you're gonna always have your wealthy and your rich, but where everyone else is okay. They're comfortable. They're able to take care of their bills, go to a job that they're cool with, their kids' education is taken care of, the house is paid for. You know, God, I think there was a time when, I mean, even with my mom being a single mom, I mean, she was able to buy a house here in Evanston and things were just good, you know, and even myself, I mean, it was just, there was a time period when I didn't really see a ton of people struggling, you know, even though I know that there were, but there were more and more people who had jobs. If you lost that job, you could find another job quick. You know what I mean? Like, what happened to those days?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, that's a wonderful question. We have all those days gone. Well, you know, Malika, it seems to me that you're talking about a time that's not so very far removed from where we are right now. You mentioned your mom. That's only a generation ago. Well, obviously, you know that there has been an explosion with regard to the cost of living. I know this for myself. My parents, of course, would have been much older than your parents. If my parents were alive today, they would both be over 100 years old. But when they bought their home in the 1950s, they paid less than $5,000 for their home. It wasn't Evanston, it was Kalamazoo, but they paid less than $5,000 for a home. They raised 9 children in that home, had a beautiful yard. You know, we were probably on a little less than half of an acre. It was just incredible, right? But right now, I will tell you that in Evanston, you're not getting a home for that amount of money. An average home in Evanston right now may be $250,000 or $300,000 or $400,000. And as a result of that, with that inflation, with the cost of living, in my estimation, that's where all of the good days went. Because with that rise, now I will tell you, my dad may have only been making $10,000 a year at that time, maybe, right? And in reality, if you look at the juxtaposition between the cost of the home and his salary, it still was incredible. Today, we're making a lot more money, but not nearly the amount for the cost of a home in Evanston and other variables as well. You see, we don't want people to just be able to buy a home, but we want them to live comfortably.
Right.
We don't want to help, like you were just saying, we don't want to help somebody buy a home and then damn, every single day they're dying of a headache and a burden that they have to bear. Excuse me, I think I said a cuss word. I'm sorry, but anyway, you know what I'm saying. We don't want them to bear that kind of burden every single day. And you know, when they buy a home, the property taxes in Evanston are as high as they are probably anywhere in the state of Illinois. So that's a big struggle as well. We have to make sure that they can buy a home and afford it, and then we have to make sure that they can pay the property taxes, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, you know, a year just for taxes. You know, my goodness, my first apartment didn't cost $15,000 a year. You know, let alone taxes, right? That's what our taxes are now. So there's a lot to consider. And I think that's why one of the things I'm proud of in Evanston, one of the things that makes me happy about this community with all of its challenges and all of its faults is that this is where reparations is starting. That somehow the people in this town at this juncture in human history recognize we have to do something for these people that have been hurting for centuries and centuries. And now what we have to do, because they promise that that's going to happen, we have to create a process and a procedure to make it happen. And I think the city council meeting tonight is going to be another step in that direction. We're going to hear from some really amazing people tonight. And again, I'm just happy to be a part of these amazing people that includes, I got to call her out, Alderman Robin Sue Simmons, Rue Simmons. She's just special. And of course, Alderman Peter Braithwaite and Alderman Cicely Fleming and even Ann Rainey, you mentioned her already in terms of what she was able to do. Judge Lionel Baptiste has been amazing. You know that. He's incredible. And Dino Robinson from the Legacy. I mean, we've got some amazing people. Pastor Monty Dillard. I don't want to leave anybody out, right? They've been working hard month after month and week after week. And so I know you need to get ready for this. You maybe heard it first here. This is not pleasing everybody. There will be people in Evanston who will be absolutely outraged that the city would take hundreds of thousands of dollars during this time and create this reparations movement. I think that we're going to be facing a backlash that is going to be undergirded by hidden racism, by things like white privilege and white entitlement. And I think that we will probably potentially be facing lawsuits in the future as well. But guess what? Let me tell you, we're ready for that too. Bring it.
Hey, as long as they want to go public,
yes,
they need to just let us know who you are.
That's right. That's right.
Who you are. Just let us know who you are. We just want to know who you are.
That's right. That's right. And Malika, the truth is, if you get 10 of us in a room, we probably could name who they are already. Yeah. You can run, Joe Lewis said, but you cannot hide. Yeah. Indeed.
That's right. Okay, so we look forward to the town hall today, Pastor Nabors. I know you have to get going.
Yes, thank you.
Town hall will people, because it's Zoom, new normal now. Town hall,
right. It's the normal.
Gather in one room. Yeah. Now we're going to be virtual. So will the people of Evanston be able to type in questions and they be answered, or is it going to be interactive, or how's it going?
I believe that is the process that's going to happen, Malika. We have a full slate of speakers and that sort of thing. So I think at the end, there will be a chat room where people will be able to list their questions and somebody from the committee will be handling that. So there won't be, I don't think there's going to be a verbal back and forth. I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be you're writing your questions, and then with the time allotted for Q&A, we will respond to as many of them as possible. And remember, this is a first. This is the first one on our virtual platform. There are probably going to be several more.
All right. It's the new normal. It's the new normal.
It is indeed. Right. Okay, Malika, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time always, and we'll look forward to hearing you all tonight, 7 o'clock. I'll put the link in the description so everybody.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Malika. Take care and be safe, and tell your beautiful mom, Fran, I said hello.
Yeah. I will. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, you all, this has been Malika, Evanston Live TV, and you all be sure to participate tonight. If you have some ideas, some questions, you're outraged, you're in great support of this reparations movement coming right out of Evanston, Illinois, which, I mean, we're all proud about. You all be sure to click on the link. I'm going to put it in the description. And participate tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. For those of you who are watching from other parts of the country, that'll be Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. It'll be a virtual town hall via Zoom. Okay, and reparations that's some serious talk. And as we have been learning, reparations is not all about monetary. It's about repairing a lot of pain and injustice done onto the Black community for years and years and years. And other cultures have they've been repaid for past injustices done onto them. But we are the only group when anytime reparations comes up or a Black agenda comes up that really helps our community, something always happens. There's always backlash. There's always, oh, we don't have the funding, or there's always something. And for the first time, to me, it appears that there's some light at the end of the tunnel. And it's unfortunate that our ancestors weren't able to be here for this reparations that's becoming a reality. Um, but like we've said in past shows, that a lot of the work we do today we may not see, but generations from now will benefit from. So it's all a process, and the point is, don't give up. Got to keep fighting, keep pushing, keep supporting, keep participating, stay engaged. And if you haven't been engaged with this reparations, with the process so far, click on tonight and get updated and see how you can lend a voice or some ideas. Okay, so this has been Malika, Evanston Live TV, and as I have been ending every video, please follow the guidelines of this pandemic. Please, people, wear your mask before you leave the house. Take your shoes off at your front door so you're not tracking COVID-19 into your house. Keep your hands clean, wear those gloves, stay in the house as much as you possibly can, and just be very, very aware. Keep your 6 feet distance, follow the rules and guidelines at public places, in the stores. If it's a one-way aisle, I know some of us are struggling with that. I know that I'm one of them. I have to be conscious of the arrows on the floor. Just be aware. Definitely pay attention to the news. I know it's consuming and depressing during this time period, but you have to pay attention and know what decisions are being made, because it's impacting your life, your health, your family, your livelihood. You have to stay on top of it, and this is the time to get engaged on so many issues. Okay, so you all be safe. Thank you for supporting Evanston Live TV, and stay tuned. We have more amazing guests coming on, and these are interesting times. Stay engaged.